Nesky, the Posh PA, here to talk to you about timeline. When do I apply to PA school? It can be very confusing, so let's get to it. But before we do that, make sure you smash that subscribe button because I'll be here every week giving you tips on not only how to get into PA school, but tips for PA students, practicing PAs, and also how to keep yourself well, healthy throughout the entire time because that's just my jam. So, okay. Without further ado, let's talk about timeline because it can be very confusing. It does depend a little bit where you are. If you're an undergraduate, if you're graduated, if you're a career changer. But the rule of thumb is that the application process takes a year. So it opens every April, okay? The centralized application service for PAs opens every single April. The last day usually of April. That cycle will then go to the following April, sort of right in the middle. It will close for 2 weeks and then reopen. Okay, so let's use some years as examples just to give you a better idea. So the 2022 application cycle opened the last day of April 2022. The whole entire cycle will then go till April of 2023, usually around April 15th or so, close for 2 weeks, reopen the last day of April 2023 for the 2023 cycle. You may have to play that back again, but it does make sense. So let me break it down for you in terms of if you are somebody that's in college and does not want to take a gap year, or your parents don't want you to take a gap year, whatever it is, then you need to be applying to PA school in that transition between your junior and senior year, so that you will spend your entirety of your senior year in the application cycle. What that means is you need to have most of your prerequisites done. Some schools will allow you to apply with some in progress. You will need to have patient care experience. You will need to have shadowing. You will need to have volunteer work. And some people do have all of that by that time. So you would be applying in like May, June of your junior year, like transitioning into your senior year. Then you would go into your entire senior year into the application process, hopefully get accepted, and then start a program right after you graduate from college. Now, if you're somebody that's like, oh, I'm going to take a gap year, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. If you are about to graduate college, let's say you're about to graduate college in the spring of 2022, and you're like, okay, this is great. I'm going to use this year to gain patient care experience. That's great, but you also need to know if you're applying in your senior year. So if you decide I graduated in 2022, I'm going to apply to PA school now, and you have to go through that entire year cycle and start in 2023, any hours that you would gain in those 9 months or that year that you're off probably won't be included in your application because you need to apply with the hours that you currently have, not your projected hours. Okay, so that's a really big confusion point for a lot of people who say, oh, well, I'm just going to gain all my experience in the year that I apply. It doesn't really work that way, okay, because you need those hours kind of when you're applying, right? Now, if you have a certain amount of hours, let's say you have patient care hours, you have about 1,000, you want to get like 1,500, closer to 2,000, so you just apply a little bit later in the cycle, no biggie. But if you're somebody that has no patient care experience you are graduating college right now, then you probably are going to wind up having to take 2 years. And here's what I mean. If you graduated in spring of 2022 and you have no patient care hours, then you will work for the entirety of 2022 into 2023. You will apply in 2023 and you will start a program in 2024. So you have to remember the process is a year and you will not start a program until the following year that you apply. Now, there are some programs that have a quick turnaround of about 6 months where you apply and then you start in January. And that's one of the most confusing parts about this conversation is that every program can be a little bit different. So be sure to talk to somebody. You can always book a one-on-one appointment with me on my website at michellenesky.com, me or one of my other amazing coaches that we've been helping hundreds of students get into PA school for the last few years. And it's been amazing. But this question can be very complicated and it's also tailored to the individual. So it's always good to strategize and make a plan in advance so you know your full timeline. So you're like, okay, this is what I need to accomplish, in this year so that I am able to apply in 2023 and hopefully gain acceptance and start a program in 2024. So you need to have that all laid out. And once you do that, you can sort of reverse engineer what your application will look like and will need. So, in terms of your GPA, in terms of your patient care hours, in terms of your volunteer work, in terms of your shadowing, okay? So I know I talked a lot in this video and there's a lot of information to come at you, but I want you to go away with this, is that it's a year application process. So you are applying in the year before you will actually start. So take that with you. And as always, you can find me on all my social media channels at Michelle.theposhpa, and you can always book a one-on-one session with me or any of my coaches, as I said before. But let me tell you something, this can be confusing, but the reason why I'm here is to help you, guide you through it every step of the way. See you next time.